Okay, so you might be wondering, why would somebody want to hire a ghostwriter? What's the point? Why would you want to attach your name onto somebody else's words? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the most common being, you might not have the time. Let me ask you a question. Every book you've read from, say, a Fortune 500 CEO or a really well-known business person, do you really think that person wrote that whole book themselves? I mean, I'm sure that in many cases, they wrote part of it, or some of them might have written their books, but more likely than not, they worked with a writer, they spent a ton of time doing interviews and things like that, somebody else wrote the book, and then they put their name on it. And I mean, let's be honest, that's part of the reason why I haven't written a book. I don't feel like I've got the time to sit down and write something. Ask anyone who's written a book. It takes a long time. So take a Fortune 500 CEO or someone that has like thousands of employees to run, and for them to have the time to write a book, I don't think so. At least not till they've retired. So, I mean, if I feel too busy, then they're certainly too busy. So it makes sense that ghostwriting's a thing. But on top of that, another obvious reason why someone might want to hire a ghostwriter is maybe they're just not a very good writer. They might be really smart and have a lot to say, but if they can't articulate that in a meaningful and entertaining and interesting way, then, well, you got to find someone who can do that. And that's a ghostwriter. That's why you take a professional writer to make you sound more eloquent on paper than maybe you really are. I mean, those are the two biggest reasons why a ghostwriter exists: to, write for people that don't know how to write, and to save time for people that don't have the time to do it. But in this video, my guess is you're not a Fortune 500 CEO looking to find a ghostwriter to write your memoirs, but rather you're a freelance writer trying to decide if ghostwriting is a good fit for you. So rather than continue to talk about why someone would want to do it, let's talk about the pros and the cons for you as a writer. Because for some people, ghostwriting is going to be a really, really good fit and it can pay really well. And for other people, it might not be the best fit. So let's go into all the reasons to try and help you figure out if ghostwriting is going to be a good option for you as a freelance writer. So I'm sitting here and I'm recording stuff on my phone. I hit my record button over here. And I hope, because I hit the button to stop recording, and what actually happened was it started recording. So now I'm concerned that all of the stuff that I just shot was actually on the opposite kind of cadence. And I wonder if all of the stuff I've recorded is now me just sitting here, getting ready to record the next thing. Yep, sure enough, whole video, nothing. Now I gotta figure out how to do this all over again. And I feel like this is a pretty good one too. Now I gotta get back in the zone and rewind and go back and do the... I should know better. I've done a lot of these by now. Freaking amateur hour over here. Rookie mistake. But I'm not a rookie. I'm at least like a sophomore. Not quite a veteran, but it's not my first rodeo. Okay. Obviously, there's lots of pros and cons to ghostwriting. Let's start with the cons, and we'll get the biggest one right out of the way. What's that? You already know what that is. It's that you don't get to put your name on the work. All the stuff that you toiled on and you researched, you spent hours writing, whether it's a simple blog post or a full book, you don't get to put your name on it. And that can suck. Why should somebody else get all the praise and all the credit and all the fame and maybe all the money for the work that you did? Well, there's a lot of pros that come along with that we're going to talk about in a second, but that does suck. As a writer, as someone who's trying to build a name for themselves, as someone who takes pride in their work, to not be able to point to something you wrote and say, hey, that was me. Those were my thoughts. Those were my ideas. That can be really difficult. And that's one of the biggest cons in ghostwriting, is you don't get the fame and the praise and the recognition. For some people, that might be a good thing. But for other people, and most writers, can be a tough pill to swallow at first. So you have to decide if you're okay with that. And if you are, then ghostwriting can be a great option. But if you're not, that could be a difficult hurdle to get over. Along with that, another con, and this is kind of a more of a moral question, is whether or not you're okay with somebody else's name on your work. It can feel dishonest. It can feel disingenuous. I mean, we were all taught to say if you put your name on somebody else's work, that's a bad thing. If in high school you hired a ghostwriter to write an essay for you, you'll probably get kicked out of school. And so why is that okay in the business world? Well, I don't know why it's okay, but everybody does it, so it's gotta be. Maybe you're a better person than I am and you have more of a moral compass than I do, but you have to decide if you're okay and if you think it's dishonest to have your name on somebody else's work. And something to remember with ghostwriting is that even though you're writing it as a professional writer, it's not all you. Most of the time you are working with an expert or someone, you're taking their thoughts, you're taking their opinions, and you're just putting them together in a more eloquent way. So it's kind of like a tag team type deal. But that will be something to consider, because if you can't get over putting somebody else's name on your work, then you could have a tough time ghostwriting, and it just may not be the best option for you. And that's totally okay. So another con of ghostwriting, especially if you're just starting out as a freelance writer and you're just starting to grow your business, is it can be tough to grow your business if you can't put your name on anything. If all the work you're doing is under somebody else's name, you don't have like things you can point to be like, oh, I wrote that, I wrote that, and I wrote that. So finding new clients and building that trust and building your reputation, that can be a little bit more difficult. So that's something to kind of consider. If you get offered a bunch of ghostwriting jobs early on, but you haven't quite established yourself, maybe you continue trying to find work where you can build your name even more to make finding future clients more accessible. Although, if you've got a bunch of people offering you ghostwriting work in the early days, well then, you clearly don't have that problem. So maybe it's worth just taking it. All right, one final con of ghostwriting is it can be tough to get the tone and the personality of the person you're writing for correct on the first try. So let's say I wrote Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog. If I start writing, trying to make myself sound like I'm Phil Knight, that can be kind of a difficult proposition. That can take time. And if you're just writing, a one-off blog post or whatever, you may have to rewrite things a couple times to make sure you're hitting the right tone and to make sure you are sounding like the person that's name is going to be on it. And who knows, you could hit it right off the bat, or frankly, they may not be that particular, but that's something to consider because it can take some extra time to make sure that you are capturing the personality of the person that you're writing for. And that's one thing with ghostwriting that you have to worry about that you don't have to do when you're the one whose name is on it. All right, so now we kind of understand, why you might not want to ghostwrite, but let's talk about why you may want to consider it. And the first reason is it can pay really well. Frankly, usually a ghostwriting job pays better than a non-ghostwriting job. When you're giving up your byline and you're giving up your name, you're also making more money in the process. So that's one of the big reasons why a lot of freelance writers flock to this type of work, because they know they can get paid better for it. And in the end, we're all trying to build a business. We're all trying to support ourselves. We're all trying to make money. We're all trying to be able to do more of the stuff we want to do in life. And have I mentioned, that's what we do here at Location Rebel. We help you build small businesses, freelance businesses, that allow you to do more of the stuff that you like to do. Quit your job, travel the world, work from anywhere you want. And if that sounds interesting to you, then go to locationrebel.com/FWG, stands for Freelance Writing Guide. You can get our free freelance writing starter kit. So if all this stuff that we're talking about with ghostwriting and finding clients, if that all appeals to you, check that out. That's going to be the best starting point I know of to start diving into that type of work. Sorry for the little commercial PSA. Let's jump right back into the pros of ghostwriting, shall we? All right, this is one of my favorite reasons for ghostwriting and why I think it's something you should really consider, because you don't really have to do any promotion for the work you're doing. So let's say that you're writing a blog post for yourself on your own blog under your name. Well, then you got to go market that. You got to go share it all over social. You got to go email people to tell them about how great your new blog post is to try and get traffic to it so that you can eventually make money and find more clients and all of those things. Well, when you're ghostwriting, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do any of that. You write the article, you get it approved, you send it to them, and that's their job. They are the ones who have to go worry about the marketing and the promotion and all the other crap that comes along with that. And you can just go sip a Mai Tai or something until the next ghostwriting client comes along. And that's pretty sweet. Another unintended benefit of ghostwriting is you can learn a lot about a specific niche or a specific industry. Usually when you're doing that, like I said, you're gonna have to spend a little bit of time with the person you're ghostwriting for. You're gonna have to interview them, you're gonna have to talk to them, you're gonna have to soak up all the knowledge that they have so that you can write something and sound like an expert. So if you're still trying to figure out what industry you want to be writing in, trying to niche down, that kind of stuff, to have a ghostwriting client where you can be educated about some of the ins and outs of that industry can be a really cool benefit. Not to mention, if someone's got the money and the resources to pay for a ghostwriter, then they're probably somewhat successful, so you can learn a lot. It's kind of like starting a podcast just so that you have a reason to interview smart and successful people. Opens up a lot of doors that you might not have considered otherwise. Another reason to consider ghostwriting is it opens up a lot of opportunities for writing. Like I said, ghostwriting, for any moral issues you have, is a very, very prevalent thing. It happens across every industry, every type of business, every type of writing. Like we said, books, ebooks, blog posts, speeches, social media, white papers, thought pieces, you name it. All of those can be ghostwritten, and all of those are, every single day, are ghostwritten. And so a lot of the time it can open up the door for longer term work as well, because once you nail somebody's tone, once somebody likes working with you, once somebody's confident in your ability to write like them, then they're not going to want to let you go. And especially if you're thinking about writing a book or a series of blog posts or things like that, it can really lead to steady, consistent, recurring, high-paying work. And that's one of the biggest reasons to consider ghostwriting as a freelance writer. And one last pro to ghostwriting that you may not know, so I wanted to make sure we mentioned it, is that you can promote your work when you're a ghostwriter. So most of the time in your contract, there will be a clause that says you are able to leverage a piece that you wrote for future work. So if you're pitching somebody else, you can use a ghostwritten piece of work as a portfolio piece. So you want to double check that and maybe even write that into a contract. But a lot of the time that's kind of standard, and usually that's okay. That's not to say you can go to social media and go blast around to everybody, hey, I wrote this piece. But if you're just using it to show one client, about your work and something you've done, usually that's okay. And if a client has an issue with that, then ask them for a testimonial instead, because often that can be just as beneficial as someone seeing the actual post that you wrote. So usually when you're ghostwriting, they're pretty flexible and will allow you some options to make sure that you are, in fact, able to actually grow and build your writing business. Okay, now you understand what ghostwriting is, you understand why somebody would want to hire a ghostwriter, you understand the pros of ghostwriting, the cons, and you probably are starting to get a pretty good idea of whether or not this is the type of writing that you want to pursue. So the question becomes, how do you become a ghostwriter? How do you do it? And the answer is, unfortunately, it's pretty easy. It's really just like any other type of freelance writing. You add it to your website to say that you do ghostwriting. You add it to your LinkedIn profile. When you're sending letters of introduction, you mention that that's something you're open to. You search job boards for ghostwriting opportunities. By the way, we've got videos for all of these things, letters of introduction, job boards, websites, we got that all below. And like I said, if you really want the hand-holding, go to locationrebel.com/FWG. But the good news is it's not that much more difficult to find ghostwriting opportunities as it is just general writing work. And chances are, as you're finding general writing work in whatever industry you're in, a lot of times clients or agencies or whoever you're going to be working for, they'll ask you if you are open to ghostwriting. Like I said, this is a very common practice. So it's something that if you're freelance writing for any significant or even not so significant amount of time, you will come across this. And so by using everything we've talked about in this video to understand the pros and the cons and the benefits and forming an opinion beforehand as to whether or not this is something you want to pursue, it's really going to open you up to that much more in terms of opportunities, in terms of making money as a freelance writer. So it can really be kind of a good thing. Or it might not be for you, in which case there's plenty of other types of writing to consider. And with that, that's what ghostwriting is all about. That's what this video is all about, and we're done here. Make sure to go hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so every time we have a new video, which is every Monday and Thursday, by the way, you'll be notified so that you can build a lifestyle business. You can get out of that job that you're not super stoked about. You can spend more time with your friends and family. You can work from home in your sweatpants, or you can work for a beach, or wherever else you decide you want to work. That's the great thing about building a lifestyle business, and I truly believe that freelance writing is the best way to go about it. We've got over 3,000 people in our Location Rebel Academy community that are building this exact type of business. So if you want to be around other people that are doing this, if you want support, if you want mentorship from me directly, then go to locationrebel.com/join. Would love to have you. We've been around for almost 10 years. 10 years. That's a long time in this world, so be sure to go check it out. And with that, I'm gonna go wash my car. I'm not gonna do anything that exciting right now, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, peace.